So, how should you read a bond prospectus? That's what I want to share in this video. How you go about reading a bond prospectus. So, what is a bond prospectus? So, this is a legal document that provides detailed information about a bond offering to potential investors. So in this particular case, if the Bank of Zambia, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zambia, is inviting members of the public and investors out there to invest in government bonds, they would issue what is called a prospectus. It's a public document, and what I have on the screen is an example of an actual bond prospectus for the month of October 2023. So I am not sure in Zambia whether or not there is a legal requirement for boss to do that, but I know that in most of these other countries, there is a legal requirement that when you're issuing out bonds, you issue out this document, a legal document that details everything that is needed to be known about the bond. So the prospectus is designed to help investors make informed decisions by providing them with the relevant information about the bond. Okay, so let's go into exactly what you find in the prospectus. And like again, I mentioned to start with, we'll look at an actual prospectus for the issue number 10 2023 BA. So I'll just read out what we have in this prospectus. The Bank of Zambia, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zambia, invites application for government bond auction number. So you'll find that auction number in the prospectus to be held on the 27th of October 2023. Bid application can be submitted electronically through email or BOZ Government Securities Investor Portal. Bid applications can also be submitted physically to either Bank of Zambia or commercial banks. All bids must be submitted by 16 hours on Thursday, October 26, 2023. Settlement will be on Monday, October 30th, 2023. Okay, so we can see in that paragraph right there that the issue of the bond is specified. In this particular case, it's the government of the Republic of Zambia that is issuing out this bond. Obviously, the Bank of Zambia acting on behalf of the government. The bond auction number is stated. When the actual auction will be done, that date is stated. The prospectus goes on to specify also the modes of submitting your bonds, either through mail, direct to the Bank of Zambia, or physically to your commercial banks, or physically to the Bank of Zambia, or in this particular case, Bank of Zambia having implemented the investor portal, there is a new way of submitting these bonds, and this is through the Government Securities Investor Portal. The prospectus goes on to specify when the bids should reach Bank of Zambia, so they should be submitted by 16 hours on Thursday. That is the date before the auction, and when settlement will be done. So settlement date is when the money from your account will be debited. the investments that you are making into this bond when it will be debited from your account and credited to Bank of Zambia. Okay, so the following are the amounts on offer. So now the bond prospectus goes on to itemize the other details of this bond. So there's tenor or term for the bond. So what the tenor is basically, this is the length of time until the maturity of the bond. So this is the length of time that the Bank of Zambia, that the government of the Republic of Zambia in this particular case, will borrow your money. The time that you will lend money to, the period of time that they'll have that money. Okay, so this is what the term of the bond is. So in Zambia, currently we have 2-year bonds, 3-year bonds, 7-year bonds, 5-year bonds, 15-year bonds, 10-year bonds. If you go for a 10-year bond, you are lending money to the government for a period of 10 years. That's the tenor or the term. If you go for a 7-year bond, you are lending money to the government for a period of 7 years. That's the tenor, that's the term. Okay, so the other thing that you have on the prospectus is the coupon rate. So the coupon rate is basically the interest rate that the bond issuer pays to the bondholder on a regular basis. So this particular case, what we are saying is that the coupon rate is the interest rate that the government will be paying you on a regular basis. For bonds in Zambia, the coupon rate is applied on, it's an annual rate applied on the face value of your bond and is paid in 2 installments per year. So it is paid every 6 months. They calculate the coupon rate, that interest rate of your face value per year, and then divide it by 2, and you get it in installments of 6 months per year for the length of the bond. If it's the 10-year bond, you'll be getting every year 2 installments for 10 years, and so on and so forth. That's what the coupon rate is. And then we have competitive tender amount. So for bonds in Zambia, they are of 2 types. We have the competitive tender and the non-competitive tender. So what exactly do we mean when we say competitive tender? So in a competitive tender, investors compete to lend money to the government by specifying the interest rate and the face value of the securities they wish to purchase. So in competitive tender, you basically, as an investor, you are saying, I want to lend you this money at such and such a cost, or at such and such an interest. That's what competitive tender is. And there's a way in which the selection for competitive tender is done. We'll get into details on that in later videos. But just know that for competitive tender, it's where, as an investor, you compete to lend money to the government by specifying an interest rate. For non-competitive tender, investors do not specify an interest rate. Okay, so as an investor, you are willing to be allotted securities at an interest rate to be determined during the auction. So that's what that amount for non-competitive tender is. And of course, we have the total tender amount, which is just the summation of the two. So what you see here, the 250 million kwacha competitive tender amount. So this is the amount that the government wishes to borrow under the conditions of competitive tender. 30 million kwacha is the amount that that the government wishes to borrow under non-competitive tender conditions, and there are very specific conditions which we'll see later on. So that's the other thing that you see on the prospectus. The next thing that you see is this number, ISIN. So this is it stands for International Securities Identification Number. So this is a unique 12-digit character. Is it 12? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so it's a unique 12-character alphanumeric code that identifies a specific security globally. So you will not find any other bond in this world with this particular number. So this is a number that distinguishes this bond from the next one, from the next one, from the other ones, and from the other bonds that are being issued throughout the world. Okay, so it is used to facilitate trading, clearing, settlement of security transactions, especially across borders. So for our purposes, let's just look at it as a unique number for a given bond. Maturity date, so this is the date from the settlement date to the day the bond matures. Basically, from the day you lend money to the government, once you add the terms for that bond, for example, if it's a 2-year bond, after 2 years, the maturity date comes. So if you notice, this maturity date is exactly 2 years from the issue from the settlement date. This maturity date here is exactly 7 years from the settlement date. So the maturity date is basically the date in the future after the term, your bond has run its term. It's the date in the future when you will get your face value that you invested in this bond, plus the discount, obviously. And then the coupon dates. The coupon dates are I did talk about how that every year for the term of the bond, you will have 2 payments every year. So these 2 payments will be falling on these coupon dates. Okay, so these are the coupon dates. That's what the coupon dates mean. It's the dates when the coupon payments will be made to you. And for bonds, they come, it's twice in a year. Every 6 months, you'll be getting that coupon. And then the last thing for this particular video is this description. So if you've noticed, there are some bonds where it says new issue, and for other bonds, it's a reissue. So what a new issue is it's basically a new bond for this month that the government has issued, through which it seeks to lend money from the public. A reissue is a bond that was issued, say, last month or the month before that, but the government has not been able to raise all the funds that they sought to raise for that particular bond. So again, like I mentioned I think that should have been in episode number 1, the government issues these government securities to raise funds. So there are certain times it so happens that for a particular issue, the government does not manage to raise the required funds, meaning that the following month, instead of issuing a new bond, they will reissue an existing bond. What that means is that for the following month, the maturity date that will be followed will be the same maturity dates like the ones that were followed in the previous month. That's really the difference between a new issue and a reissue. So I think that's it. I didn't mean for this video to take very long. This is how you read a bond prospectus. This is part one of a two-part video that I would want to do on how to read a bond prospectus. In my next video, we'll go into the other aspects of a prospect of what you'll find in a bond prospectus. Thank you.